Welcome to Show Me What I've Been Missing, the pop culture podcast that encourages you to explore media. I'm one of your hosts, Elizabeth Stanton, and I'm here with my other host.
Chris Mack.
And if you're watching the video of us, we are wearing matching blue shirts. Not the exact same
Yeah,
shirt, but the
not
color
same blue,
is
same color.
same color. Yeah.
Well, because
And we
you know it
didn't talk ahead of
did not
time.
coordinate it. Did not coordinate it. We did this completely by accident. But
Mm-hmm.
one hell of a way to end our season right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Our season break, I should say.
Yes,
So
well, you get one more
here.
bonus episode with special guests, and if you want to watch the movie Baps ahead of time and
Yes.
watch it and then listen to the podcast, you can do that next week.
No. Forget that. Not if you want to. You should go watch.
Well, you
Bass,
should.
because Bass is a hilarious movie. It's actually very
It
clever.
was so tender. I don't want to give
And it
anything
was
away
super
from the
fun.
episode, but it was
No,
really
here's the thing. They
fun.
can't enjoy the episode if they don't watch the movie because
Right, if you don't-
that. So
Because we,
yeah,
unlike maybe an episode of Sex and the City, we didn't exactly go plot point by plot point through
Right.
it. So it is in your best interest to watch Baps and also expand your horizons.
yeah. If you ain't seen Babs, how you gonna not like Babs? All right,
Yeah.
it's a great movie. You got Martin Landau, you got Halle Berry. What more do you want?
Yeah.
Anyway,
But
so-
what we're covering today is our latest episode of Sex and the City. It is
Yes.
season 2, episode 11,
Yes.
Evolution or
Evolution.
Evolution if you're feeling British.
Evil. First of all,
Evolution.
hate it. Hate the word. Hate how people say evolution. I know that
It's an
probably-
evolution of
It's an evolution.
series.
Boo. Fucking Brits. Anyway. So, this episode was interesting. I have several questions. So
Go for it, yeah.
I think this episode is going to be basically you educating me
Sure.
on
I'll do my best.
feminine things. Yeah, because this episode was packed with questions that I just
Mhm.
packed with conversations and questions I had no idea about. So I
Mhm.
want to dive into all of them and cure some of my ignorance if
Sure.
I can with you. Okay. So opening of the episode, Carrie is
That's
doing her
what-
voiceover thing.
Yeah. And Miranda's
talking
at
about,
the
Miranda's
gynecologist.
at the gynecologist office. Now, first question.
Mhm.
She says the gynecologist is the most embarrassing appointment. Is that true?
Yeah, it's just it's uncomfortable. Maybe not embarrassing is the right word, but it's uncomfortable,
Okay.
at least physically. And I think at the time it was still sort of like a shame thing, like, ooh, women have body parts that require special attention, and they are sinful, shameful in this little puritanical culture we're trapped in.
Okay.
And so it's admitting basically that you have to have your business, lady business checked is an embarrassing thing, although less so now. I talk with friends about it pretty casually, so
Yeah.
I find it very physically uncomfortable because of certain equipment they need to use to check things out, but that's a separate issue.
And that's interesting too, because I don't know, in spite of what people may think about how guys feel about their privates, we are actually very, it's still a super uncomfortable thing when we have to go get like the prostate checked, or we have to go get the
hernias, testicular cancer. It's all very important. Yeah.
It's weird because also too, I don't know if it's like something that they're taught in medical school, but every doctor that has checked me for a hernia is super rough. Like the pressure is ridiculous. Like if I don't have a hernia, you're giving me one right now.
I've had
always rough.
I've had a mixed bag of gynecologists.
Mm-hmm.
Some were rougher than others. I miss my one that I had, but he's out of network now, and I just can't afford that.
Okay, so you just actually kind of led me into my next question I wanted to ask.
Mhm.
Would you prefer a woman gynecologist to a male gynecologist?
I've had both.
Okay.
And at the end of the day, it really, for me, just comes down to the person. Because initially, when I started going and I was younger, I thought, oh, I want a woman. But they weren't always as receptive or listening. And maybe because it's like, oh, I have one too, so whatever you're saying, I'm not taking this seriously. And then I've had, male ones. Like my favorite one was a male
Okay.
gynecologist.
Was he an older gentleman or
No,
younger
he was
or?
like a younger middle-aged guy, but
Okay.
he was kind of friendly and bubbly.
Okay.
um, and just and he was actually the one who was like, I want to test you for vitamin D deficiency, which I
Oh
had a
wow.
huge one, as it turned out.
Really?
Yeah. I was like,
Wow.
he told me, he's like, your numbers are like insanely low. And I went, well, I have like rickets now. Can I even walk out of here? What are we doing?
That's
Um,
funny.
but yeah, and he was maybe because I knew how to advocate for myself a little better because I was a little older
Mm.
when I went to him, but he was
Okay.
also the most receptive to me explaining everything that I felt I was having issues with,
Okay.
especially when it came to like birth control, which we'll get to in a second.
Hmm.
Um, and was the most like, yes, I hear you. Here's what we can do. And anytime I was like, I don't get this, is this normal? He'd be like, yep, you're, or no, whatever the case may be. So he was the best one, and I miss him. Like I said, he's out of network though, which sucks.
Oh, that's interesting because I mean, I don't know, personally, I mean, maybe this is just maybe a little bit of my ignorance showing, but I always just found it like, to me, it just makes more sense that a woman should be like, I feel like there should be no guy gynecologist because, like,
Yeah.
I feel like a woman is going to be always just a little bit better at knowing a woman. You know what I mean?
Like I said, you would think so in theory, but I also feel like the things I was bringing up to the female gynecologists, they were
Hmm.
sort of writing off as it just happens and like
Oh,
honestly not
really?
receptive. Yeah, because not every one of them, and I know some people who have women gynecologists that they love, but
Hmm.
that was my experience, was that it was sort of like you're almost like you're overreacting to what's happening when it's, you know, not,
That's
it's
so,
not her experience, so she doesn't,
yeah.
you know.
That's so interesting. That is
Mhm.
so interesting to me that, like, you had that experience because you would
Yeah.
think as a woman she would be the most, like, a woman would be the most
Hmm.
receptive to
Hmm.
hearing what you're saying and like understanding what you're saying, and
Yeah.
because that's like that's I mean, low key, I mean, and maybe that's my own sexism,
No,
popping up.
a lot of
I
people
feel the
think
same way
that.
about therapists too. Like, if I ever have a therapist, I don't want it to be a guy because I feel like a woman's gonna be. I mean, but that's like I said. I just feel more comfortable with a woman. I feel like women are more understanding and like things of
Mhm.
that nature, and like are easier to talk to,
That's
especially
only
like
because
if I'm talking about
society
my
told you
feelings.
that, man. That's only because
That's
society
what I'm
told you
saying.
that.
That's what I'm saying. You're see
Yep.
these. That's what I'm saying. I had these questions because, like, this
Hmm.
is my ignorance
Hmm.
popping up. This is just my feelings, but it's so you're opening up my world because you're telling me that the best gynecologist you ever had was
Was a
a
guy.
male,
Yeah.
and he was the most understanding and listened to you and like
Hmm.
checked
Hmm.
all the things that you needed to say. He didn't like disregard any of your
Hmm.
complaints.
Yeah.
That's it's give me goosebumps. It's amazing. Literally,
Yeah.
I'm just like, wow, I did not see that coming. Yeah,
Yeah,
honestly.
the idea of a gendered approach is to these kind of things, whether it is like medicine or therapy or things like
Mhm.
that, is something that was been put forth by society but is deeply flawed. But that's not to say that in some cases it is necessary to have someone who has had a similar experience
Mhm.
or understanding. I know a lot of people in like, the black or Latino community are like, I want a therapist that's black or Latino because they will have
Right.
more of an understanding than if someone, a
Yeah,
white
absolutely.
therapist,
Hmm.
is like, oh, that sucks. I'm so sorry to hear that. Because as much as they're empathetic, but if
Yeah.
empathy only goes so far,
So far,
if
yeah.
you've never had that same kind of, experience, negatively or positively or whatever,
Yeah.
if your life hasn't been impacted by the color of your
Yeah.
skin or what kind
Right.
of community you're a member of. The same thing with like LGBTQ plus,
Yeah. Yeah.
individuals who might want a therapist who is a member of that same community. That I think is a little different, but
Hmm.
it, as far as like physically goes, yeah, male female, it doesn't. I think
Yeah.
the gendered approach is faulty, and but I know a lot of people and a lot of women have had problems with older male doctors for sure disregarding them. That's why it's kind of a miracle that the best gynecologist I ever had was a guy, but he was also
Hmm.
younger. He was like, his
Okay.
maybe 40s at the time that I
Hmm.
was seeing him. A lot of people have had older male doctors say, oh, what you're feeling is, doesn't matter, you're overreacting, it's nothing, and it turns out to be something horrible that they could have prevented if they had been listened to. But that happens a lot in the medical community anyway, especially especially unfortunately if you are a woman of color or an overweight person like myself. Sometimes they don't it's not look, I'm not saying my weight is healthy, but sometimes it's not my weight that's the problem.
Right. No. And I 100% agree with that, because I do think that in a lot of cases, especially medical and stuff like that, that is like, it's dismissed because of like a person's weight or condition or whatever. They're just like, oh, it's just because you need to lose weight. It's like, that's not always a solution, my guy.
I was very stressed.
Like, I don't think your weight had anything to do with you getting cancer. Like,
exactly. But going in and knowing I would have to explain that I had a lot of shortness of breath, I was like, I was like, how do I explain it so that they'll actually listen to me? Because they are just going to tell me the only reason I'm struggling to go up and down a simple flight of stairs is because I'm overweight. And I'm like, I know I'm overweight. I am not that, I know, but I also know that I'm I can't physically go up and down a flight of stairs without like literally having to stop. It takes, like almost a minute to recover. That's beyond my weight. And and yes, as it turned out, I had like a liter of fluid pushing one of my lungs. Right. Like crushing it basically.
Oh my God.
It's insane.
It's just, in hearing stories like that, it boggles my mind, because as a medical professional, you're like, if somebody has a complaint, you're supposed to check it out. Like, that's the whole point of your job. It's like, if I say I fucking feel lumps in my throat, you just tell me, oh, you need to drink more water. That's not, you're not doing your job. You're being lazy. Check it out. Do the exam and see if there's anything in there. And then after you that, if all it is that I'm just dehydrated, then give me that diagnosis.
Yeah, and then you could be like, look, you're a dummy, you are dehydrated.
You're dehydrated. Just drink more water.
Do your due diligence before you.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So that, like I said, that was my one at the time, knowing that something was much more wrong rather than just being out of shape, but also knowing like, I hope they listen to me, because, they're going to write this off as you can't go up and down a flight of stairs just because you're overweight. And especially because I had been working with a trainer like all that summer was like really and actually part of why I was stopping going to the trainer was because I was not being able to catch my breath or keep up. So I kind of kept blowing it off. Yeah. But that wasn't, exactly causing me to like gain more weight or anything like that. But I also just thought, oh man, this trainer's working me really hard. No, he was doing great.
He was, but also, that's crazy, man.
Yeah.
So, okay, now we're talking about bad diagnoses and doctors not doing their job. So Miranda is at the gynecologist and she's getting checked out, and her gyno says that she has a lazy ovary.
Yes.
Now, first, I don't know how extensive your knowledge is about gynecology, but I feel like lazy ovary is not really a medical term.
No, not one that I've heard anyway. I was Googling other stuff before we started, and I forgot to Google lazy ovary, and now I'm curious.
Okay.
Just Google it real fast.
Because she said, so basically she explained it. I'm going to just go as
it's a real thing.
It's a real thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so she says she has a lazy ovary, and that she's only producing one egg a month from that ovary.
Yeah. Or every other month, I think.
Every other month, excuse me. Yeah, one month. Yeah, one egg every other month, like when she has her period. So I was just wondering about that, because I was like, lazy. It just seems like such a basic term to it. Like, doesn't seem like
it's like a layman's term thing. There is
a lazy ovary.
The Mayo Clinic thing. I haven't clicked on any of the links, but the Mayo Clinic link is the first one. It says primary ovarian insufficiency.
Now that sounds more like a diagnosis.
But doesn't it sound worse than lazy ovary?
It does.
It sounds like something bad is happening.
It sounds like it's dead. It's not like it just like gave up, like an ovary that just collapsed.
Lazy ovary is a little gentler description.
But it also kind of seemed meaner, because you saw how it affected Miranda when she said it. She was just like insulted. It's like, Because and here's the thing too. It's probably because that's why I was like, it didn't sound like an actual term because like the way it affected Miranda, which is also hilarious because Miranda's such a hardworking, A type person.
Yeah.
So lazy is not in her category at all. She's like, lazy? Do you know how hard I work? I'm a fucking junior partner.
She says the ovary went to Harvard, which is so funny. When she's having brunch with them the next time she sees them. It's so perfect.
Yeah. That's why I was like, that was the worst thing you could have probably ever said to Miranda was lazy. Lazy ovary?
I'm also fascinated by the fact that she was only... This is just interesting to me because I know so many people, whether or not they are like in a sexually active or in a relationship, who are just on birth control regardless. And it's interesting that they show her having gone on birth. She says she only went on the birth control because she was with Steve, and then because they broke up, she wanted him.
He was so good.
I know. Did you miss Steve a little?
And the sad thing is like she didn't really fuck it up. He just couldn't handle.
That's the saddest part.
That's the sad part. Yeah. She didn't do anything to really fuck it up. But I'm sorry.
It's okay. But she's choosing to go off the pill because she's no longer with him. And to me, though, because she's a person who has a lot of sex, she should probably stay on it to avoid pregnancy.
Yeah, because he dates frequently.
That's what I thought was so strange. Because, I mean, they don't always show everybody putting a condom on in this show. Or taking one off after the fact, Like...
Side note, do you think that's something that should be presented in like television shows and or movies? Because every time they show somebody like about to like have sex, it's very rare that they're like unless it's always played for a joke when like the girl asks the guy to like put on a condom or does he have a condom or something like that. It's never played seriously. Like I think like you don't have to actually show the guy putting it on.
Right. I don't need the anatomical presentation.
A little open a package with the mouth.
I absolutely think they do because I think it would really normalize it and help,
because
represented on screen. It really drive home that it's a thing. There's actually, I remember there's a scene in Friends, I remember ages ago, that Monica and Rachel are both having a guy over and they have to race each other to the bathroom because there's only one condom left in the thing. Yeah. And I forget who wins, but the other one is like, she's not gonna, if he doesn't break the condom, she's gonna choose to not have sex that night to be safe. And I thought that was a great moment to play on screen. It it acknowledges that women should have them on hand as well. It should not solely be the guy's responsibility.
Absolutely.
And B, that if you don't, if you want to really prevent a pregnancy or an STI, anything like that.
Yeah,
you gotta wrap it up, and if you can't do it, then you just SOL that night. It's okay though.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. I always think about that. Anytime there's like a lovemaking scene or something like that, like in a movie or a television show, it's like how come they don't ever show? Sometimes it's implied, you know what I mean, like afterwards. But usually, if they do show anything, it's always played for a joke, like. Somebody doesn't know how to use a condom or doesn't know how to like put it on properly or whatever. It's like that it would go a long way to like you said, normalize it because it's still even a thing. Like I think some guys are still even a little bit like embarrassed when they go buy condoms at the store, which you shouldn't be. You've been
if anything, you should be like, fuck yeah, I'm having sex. Look at all these condoms I'm buying.
I'm not having no STDs. I'm being a responsible adult. Look at me.
And look at the giant package I have to buy because I'm having so much sex. I need all these condoms.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the fact, but that again goes back to the whole puritanical shame society we're in. So, yeah.
Thank you, Brits. For that. We really
thanks, that. Puritans.
So we're sticking with Miranda for now.
Yeah.
If you don't mind. And
so
later she's talking to the girls about the whole experience, and then she goes out on a date with this guy that I was chasing her for a while. The
another lawyer guy,
right?
Yeah.
Now let me ask you this: do you think? Okay, this is actually the question I want to ask. Because it seemed that she was only really kind of dating this guy as because she felt like the pressure.
Yeah, she felt this
like that was on.
Yeah.
Let me ask you two questions. One, is that the wrong way to be dating? And two, do you as a woman feel that pressure like all the time?
Yes, I do think it's the wrong way to be dating because timelines are arbitrary and imposed on you by society and are not real and should not be followed unless you want to and you like it.
Okay.
But it should not be the thing that drives you to do that kind of thing. Personally, as a woman, I do feel some pressure, less so to get married. It's more the childbearing aspect of it because I am 35 and they say after 35 your fertility goes down. Now I also have the added complication of having had chemotherapy and radiation, which I guess when they know they want to start it, they usually try to do a little fertility preservation, but because mine was so, I had like stage 4 and we had to start chemo like yesterday kind of a thing.
Right. Yeah.
The doctor kind of apologized at the time. She's like, I'm sorry, but we just can't, like, you can if you want to, but she's like, I do not recommend waiting one more minute to get this all started. And I was like, yeah, I cannot bank my life on imaginary future children and put it off, because what you do, I save the eggs. If I die, then what was the point of saving the eggs? Like, it's or worse, if I put it off, do save the eggs, they get fertilized, but I die younger anyway. Again, what was the point of doing all that if I don't treat myself first as the primary issue? Now, I've been told, and I haven't looked into it, that I believe cancer patients in California get discounted and or fully covered by insurance fertility preservation, which is what egg freezing basically is. And it is something I have not started to look into, but I want to, because I'm just generally getting older and I haven't met, as I always joke, the other half of the DNA. But it would be nice, but I also fully know that I would assume probably have to do surrogacy. I don't know. I've knock on wood and thankfully never had a pregnancy scare, so I don't know. But I would think for me it would be I feel like surrogacy would be the safest option. And I've had friends who've done surrogacy, all have lovely kids out of it, great relationships with their surrogates. It's a great gift that someone can give another person.
Yeah, I think
if they're interested.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, I said, I always consensual surrogacy.
I've been watching that show. That show was fucking wild. I just started watching it. I was like, yo.
No, consensual surrogacy.
It's not scary because they could.
It's what I'm saying from the January 6th people where they think that's kind of cool. That's what I'm saying. But what do you call it? So yeah, I feel less pressure in the sense of like, oh, I need to get married, because not to go too far ahead, but it's you don't need a man, but you want one kind of a thing, which is true. I don't need one, but I would very much like one. But yeah, as far as the child thing, that's just an unfortunate biological thing, but we're kind of overcoming it in a lot of ways with egg freezing, embryo freezing, and things like that. So.
Okay, that's great, because because I always wondered that, because of course you watch all television shows and you hear about it and things of that nature, and that society puts pressure on women like that when it comes to having kids and stuff like that. But I always wondered if it was just if that was true, or if there was just kind of the social talk. But I mean, now you're telling me that.
I will say, I think the way media often depicts egg freezing, I think it's more negative. I think they look down on it as you're not doing it naturally and or you're not meeting the arbitrary timeline that's been set out for you. That you should, as a woman, have children. It's a selfish move. Yeah, exactly. That is a selfish thing to do on a woman's part, when it is in fact a very freeing thing. Boo! No one likes that. Women being free to make their choices. That's terrible.
Empowerment. You pieces of garbage.
Yeah.
Stay in the kitchen.
But yeah, it is, because it's if you have full control over your fertility as a woman, then you have kind of all the power of the situation, and that does not make a lot of people happy.
Here's my thing too, and I've never agreed with that, because to me, you guys should have all the power because at the end of the day, you got to carry an entire human being in your body for fucking 9 months. It's all you. Like that's like if I ever get a woman pregnant, I am doing any request, everything that she needs. Like because she's doing most of the work. Like it's like not even just like socially. I'm talking scientifically. You are doing more of the work. So like it should be in the hands of you guys. It should be like when you guys want to have kids, it should be like however you want to do it. If you want to do a surrogate or if you want to have it naturally, like it should literally be all your choice because literally it's your body. It's the fact that we even have to have this conversation in the world is just insane to me. It's like people just forgot the science of what having a baby entails. It's like right there in front of you.
Yeah. And it's interesting too that Miranda admits she's not even sure she wants kids at that point. She is only 33. But that sort of maybe it's arbitrary too, the whole 35, then your egg count goes down or whatever. That might not even be true anymore. That was definitely of the time, and I think thinking for a while. I haven't looked up if that's still considered.
Technology has advanced way more since then, you know what I'm saying? And
the fact that she's thinking she has to rush into it at all with this guy, it's gonna make her miserable, and that's why those timelines are so horrible for women and men alike. Because then does the guy really want that if he's feeling rushed and pushed into it? And then you have two people who resent each other, a kid who didn't ask to be born, but now has two resentful parents, and everybody's miserable. It's not a good system.
I mean, I couldn't have said that any better. That's like, because that's one of my biggest fears. Like, and not that I grew up that way or I don't think my parents resented me or something like that. But like, I don't want to have any resentment towards like my spouse or the mother of my kids or my kid itself. Like, no, like it's like that's the thing too. Is like to me, and people make it seem like it's such a cold-hearted robotic thing to do, like to plan out like having a kid and stuff like that in life. But it's like, how is that fucked up? Like that's the best thing you can do so that you bring a kid into a world that you're prepared for. I mean, obviously there's some things that you can't prepare for. Like you never know entirely what it's going to be like to have a kid, you know what I'm saying? But at the same token, there are ways that you can prepare yourself as much as you can for like the basic things that you know are going to happen, you know what I'm saying? Like money wise, making sure the house is safe, things of that nature. Like, you know, and I don't understand why it's such a look down upon to like plan out a kid. Like,
and in the
it's past, not fucking 1812 anymore when we live on farms and have to fucking supply for ourselves. Like this is a different world. We should be planning out a pregnancy. It's actually the smartest thing you can do in a society that we live in today.
And there's actually, without going too much further into this, we'll move on, but there was articles recently about how a lot of women are choosing to not have children, and what they are kind of ignoring. They're making it as sort of, again, a selfish thing that, you're choosing a career in life, when in fact, it's so fucking expensive. And I saw a lot of people joke in response to the article, it's totally true that, for years, boomers in the older generation were like, well, don't have kids if you can't afford them. And when we all said, okay, well, I can't afford them because you've saddled me with student debt and a shitty economy. And then they're mad that you're not having children, basically to continue the capitalist machine and or fulfill like the demand, I want to be a grandparent. Okay, well, great. I don't have any money because you're hoarding it all, baby boomer. I can't win here. So
no, totally. That's so funny.
But and Miranda's date was psycho though, when he was like, some people just shouldn't have children, and getting a little eugenicsy, if you ask me. I was not okay with that.
I was wanting to ask you about that, because I was like, okay, he made a couple of points that I kind of could see where you could feel that way, and it wasn't necessarily a fucked up way, but he didn't say it right. Like, you know what I mean? Like he wasn't saying it. He if he was just saying it in like a casual conversation, like how he felt about it, it wouldn't have came off as mean. But he was like on his soapbox when he said it. So like that it kind of just took away any kind of like me wanting to really feel what he was saying. I kind of understood that, like where he was saying like, because honestly, the only point where I really say like he might be right is like some people shouldn't have children, because like there are some people in this world that should procreate. Let's be honest. You can't. There's probably some people like, because here's the thing. anybody can just have kids. Anybody can just do it. It's a freedom that you have. You can have however many you want. There's no limit. You can have fucking 15 kids if you want to. You can have 15 kids across fucking 15 states if you want to. And and some people have. There's some people who have like families in like 3 different states. And that's what I'm saying. Like those people like that probably shouldn't be procreating because clearly they're not the right kind of human being to be around the world. But again, the way he was saying it was just like so mean. It's just like, well, basically like kind of like, well, if God wanted you to have kids, you'd be able to have kids. You would have to worry about freezing your eggs and yada yada yada. That I don't agree with. It was the way he's in it, but I do agree with it. There are some people that probably shouldn't procreate.
But I also, I'm suspicious of a upper class muddied up white guy saying some people shouldn't have kids.
I feel you.
I don't trust it. I don't trust it.
I feel like there was more behind what he was saying than what he was saying.
He was not saying your general, what you were saying, the general, some people are terrible parents and should not have kids. He was saying there were probably certain types of people who shouldn't have kids.
Yes.
But frankly, he's one of them. Fuck that guy.
Yeah, that was the funny thing. Was like, as he was saying that, I was like, I think you're talking about yourself a little bit, bro.
Yeah. No one wants your balding DNA.
Nigga, you can't talk shit like you like the purest of fucking genes. You balding, homie. Like that's who wants that? You know what I'm saying? Especially look, I'm a guy in his mid-30s, and like balding is one of my biggest fears. And my dad went bald, so like if I had a choice to like, if my mom could have got with somebody that had a full head of hair into like their 50s, I would have gone with that. You feel me? Also, I would have liked if my mom had dated somebody a little bit taller, so I could be a little bit taller. Yeah. So, like, maybe take it easy there, guy with the hair plugs.
Right?
Take it down. I'm not saying you're a bad person. I'm just saying take it down a notch. You ain't exactly perfect as far as I don't think anybody's like scrambling to get your fucking sperm in the bank.
Yeah, I don't think you guys aren't swimming to the top, if you catch my drift.
Because I think if I could be wrong, but I think if you are like, if you do have the baldness gene in you, they don't even let you donate sperm.
Really?
You basically have to be low key a perfect human being. You have to be like 6 foot or over, college educated, like no history of like diabetes or heart conditions, full head of hair. Like you basically, like I said, like an ideal socially perfect human being.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So. I know every so often now I'm like, oh, if what would you do with your eggs if you froze them? But then you're like, let's say you just didn't meet anyone, or you wanted to donate them. I'm like, oh man, no one's gonna want your bum cancerous eggs, dude. No one's gonna want that shit.
Your bum cancerous eggs? God damn, girl. God damn. Jesus. You take it easy now. Jesus.
I'm just being honest with myself.
Oh my god.
My wonky, no one wants my wonky DNA.
Oh my god. Holy shit. That was interesting.
Anyway, so that wraps up Miranda, I think.
That pretty much wraps up her
her deal.
Yeah. That was an interesting conversation. And that was just one of the other conversations in this episode. That even though he was a little bit backwards on what he was saying, but the conversation that they were having was very like nuanced. Like for the time period this came out in, I don't think anybody else on television was like having this kind of conversation on their show. So it was very interesting to hear a conversation like this being talked about, because this is what, 1999?
Yeah.
I don't think anybody was talking about that. Like, not even on like actual like talk show. Either,
again, it was very, very taboo. It's only starting to be less taboo, especially as a lot of celebrities are saying, yes, I'm doing surrogacy, or I've done egg freezing and things like that. And like, again, sort of normalizing it in a, now, admittedly, egg freezing and surrogacy, all that costs a lot of money, and so it is sort of like
it's crazy.
A very privileged stance to be in. But if it's something you're considering, but feel bad about it, I think the fact that there are people who are like, yeah, I've done it, I've done it for health, I'm sure a lot of people are arguing like, oh, there's celebrities that want to mess up their body with pregnancy, which could be true, but it is also a lot of health reasons. Like,
Yeah.
a friend of mine is a otherwise perfectly healthy woman, but has some certain conditions that would make carrying a pregnancy very, very dangerous for her.
Yeah, like what about women who have like endometriosis? It's extremely difficult for them to have kids if they even can get pregnant. So like,
or polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is another, like there's so many like complications and things like that I'm glad we're kind of moving away from the idea that it's selfish and shameful, because you can't win. It's either you need to be having children, and if you're not, you need to be thinking about having children. All your existence as a woman should only be driven by offering yourself to procreate.
And that's another thing too. Is like that I feel passionate about. It's like, I think services like that, like freezing your eggs or like having surrogacy and shit like that should all be covered in your insurance. Like, it shouldn't be extra, because especially too, like, because like you can't sit there and bitch about like no abortions and shit like that, but then like when a woman wants to actually procreate and do it the right way that these fucking right-wing motherfuckers want them to do it, they still got to pay fucking $18,000-$20,000 to have it done. What the fuck? So again, what do you want? You want us not having kids, or you want us having kids? How you want to do it? It should be covered.
Much like the guy, they only want certain people having children.
It's fucking stupid, bro. I tell you, we can go on this all day.
Yeah,
I'm with you, because like it makes me angry too, because and it sucks too, because I'm a guy, and it's like, I have to be lobbed in with that, because it's mostly men that are on these television shows, talk shows, and politicians that are saying it. And it's like, y'all know what the fuck y'all talking about.
Don't worry, there are plenty of women who are
I'm sure
about it. Yeah,
I'm sure. So should we talk about our girl Charlotte now?
Our girl Charlotte, yeah. So
first of all, she did it again. She always finds a great guy, but there's always like a weird quirk that she like can't get past.
This I think she could have gotten past.
I 100% think she could have gotten past it. Like, low key, I think this was like her own like internal misogyny going
Absolutely.
on. Like, that kept her from this dude, because like, okay. This is also another instance of like a very nuanced conversation that was happening in this episode. The gay straight man and the straight gay man. That was this is something we talk about today, honestly, low key. And back then, I feel like this was like an extremely forward conversations to be had.
I mean, yes and no. It's acknowledging that the sort of traditionally masculine thing was starting to erode away slightly. So this is the era, the metrosexual term, which you could argue Stefan, the guy, was in a way he's very into certain artsy things. They put a lot of gay-ish stereotypes on him, but that was what was to play up the metrosexual angle, that he was cultured and styled and groomed and all these things. That actually was originated in 1994, and they don't say it in this episode here in 1999, but it's one of those things that was slowly starting to kind of become in the mainstream consciousness. I don't know that concept of like a gay straight man, straight gay man was public knowledge until maybe this show came along. And more middle America people are seeing different types of New Yorkers, and that starts to influence the culture that way. And this is just before Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, the first edition that came out in 2003. That show.
Oh wow.
And it means well, but I'm sure there's definitely some problematic-ness with it.
Yeah, it's gotta be. There's gotta be, for sure. Yeah.
Because it was a lot, but the idea of that masculinity means you can't or shouldn't take care of yourself or cook or be all those things. That's some of that toxic masculinity that to this day, I covered it on this other show thing I do, for work, and I saw the Twitter. Some guy said, "I don't wash my own butthole because it's gay to touch your own butthole." And it's like, fellas, is it gay to be clean? Like, come on, that's disgusting. Wash your own ass, you weirdo.
Those had to be white men, because I don't know no brothers that's like, oh, that's gay to be touching. Don't touch your, like, we clean. Like, that's the one thing black dudes do. We clean. Like,
yeah. No, for sure. But yeah, the whole
crazy.
You know. But again, I think, you know, they kind of hyper overplayed that the sort of femininity of this character to make it more of a joke than maybe it needed to be.
Yeah.
But it is a comedy show, so that, you know.
Yeah. Well,
they're nuanced only to a point.
Well, yeah. Well, I think they only played it up just because, like, they're trying. They were really trying to kind of give us the feeling of the mystery of trying to figure out whether or not he was gay or straight, because you know, Charlotte couldn't figure it out. And you know what? But I think the first mistake was assuming that he was gay. I think her own her own internal misogyny, because he was a little bit effeminate. Well, a lot of bit effeminate. He was super effeminate. I can't say he wasn't effeminate. He was like pretty effeminate. And I think because of how he was, because of that nature of him, she just assumed, without even asking him, that he was gay. She just assumed that. And then right off the gate, that's where it started the mystery. And then he kissed her, and then she was just like, wait, what?
Like, oh, yeah.
Yeah. But again, he's just a metro. He's just metro.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is, the Wikipedia article for this is good, and there's a quote, because they talk about the characters on Sex and the City, and it sort of almost like a female version of metrosexuality, where you're more masculine as a woman. In terms, of, like, Samantha's a great example of how she like approaches things. And so they were saying the fact that the metrosexual lifestyle de-emphasizes traditional male and female gender roles can help women in the long run, which I definitely think is true. It says, however, it is debatable whether the characters made famous by Sex and the City truly de-emphasize female gender roles in particular, which we've talked about, given that the series focused a high amount of attention on stereotypically feminine interests like clothing, appearance, and romantic entanglements. As we've said, for this feminist show, or so-called feminist show, they are obsessed with bagging a dude and getting married, and single, and being a single woman is, you know, the worst thing that can happen to you.
Right.
You're so even trash. So they're still, despite being sort of forward thinking, still like over embracing that traditional thing. And as we see with the Stefan character, sort of, you know, that hurts Charlotte in the long run, because she's so hung up on, as we said, she has this specific type in her head of this very, you know, upper class, waspy but masculine guy.
Right.
That she's this guy who's great. He cooks Martha Stewart, takes her to theater shit. I would fucking love this man. But because he got freaked out by a mouse and was too feminine about it, she was like all upset. I'm sorry. I also would be disgusted. Like I would be more charmed to be like, oh good, he's not like a stone cold fucking killer who was like,
that's true.
The mouse is in the glue trap, good, and like just trash.
If he was like excited about it, like hell yeah, like like blow him up or something. Like if he was like, let's get into it, that'd probably be a little bit more scarier than like him freaking out. But to be fair, I can understand, like, and this is like part of my misogyny, but like he did have like low key all the makings of a gay man, like his job, he's like pastry stuff, and he was like super effeminate. And like his house, like his apartment looked like a woman designed it. Like it literally, like all like he had silk napkins. Yeah. Like, so I get where she's coming from, but again, that doesn't give you the right to just assume that he was gay. And I can understand her even asking like if he's ever been with a guy, because like that's a question. I feel like you could have that with anybody. Like I think some of my exes have even asked me if I've ever experimented with a guy, just like out of curiosity, you know what I mean? Because like you never know. So
and the binary, such that as it is, ignores that he could have been bisexual, and
It could have been because he was given what's his name a kind of a flirty look.
And Stanford said he liked him and thought he was attractive, but that means he's not into Stanford. Haha, all the good ones are straight, even the gay ones, which I thought was funny. I've been trying to think. There's some joke I heard that was like, men are like parking meters; they're either broken or gay. It's like. They're either taken, broken, or gay.
That's probably true.
That's funny.
Now let me ask you this. Now that we're talking about it, because she freaks out on not freaks out, but she like decides that she can't be with a guy because he's like too effeminate because of the way he responded to the mouse. Which whatever. Like I don't think this effeminate. I just like you low key being a bitch, my nigga. Because like it's a fucking glue trap. Like you don't need to be like getting up in a chair. But could you date a guy that was this effeminate? I mean, let's take it down a notch because again, it was probably all heightened. It was heightened for effects. So like let's take it down about 5 notches into like a more realistic guy being effeminate, metrosexual type guy. Like, somebody who like grooms and makes sure he's like looking nice, probably gets pedicures and likes to go to the theater or something like that.
I totally could. I just don't think he'd want to date me because I don't get pedicures and I don't groom very well.
But that could be that. But he could be.
But maybe it's an opposites attract thing.
Yeah.
I don't think like if a guy like takes care of himself, and uses more than a 3-in-1 shampoo is like gay, and I won't go out with him. That's silly. No, of course. I will say though, I've metrosexual like kind of pretty boys basically are not my type. I am, as I've often joked with friends, but I think for the first time here brought up, I like a lumberjack type. I like them like kind of big and brawny and like bearded and stuff, and but like a groomed beard. I don't want you to look like a fucking crazy mountain man. Like you should be trimming that beard.
For sure.
Trying to think like
I totally think so.
The types I've had crushes on in Hollywood, like Gerard Butler's a really good example. Like
he can be like a groom,
but he's groomed. He's very manly, but like put together at the same time.
100%.
Or like a Hugh Jackman or whatever. That's my
for sure. Yeah, because even when he's not doing movies, he's like rocking the scruff. It's still like lined up and nice and trimmed. Yeah, absolutely. No, I totally get what you're saying. Because I think
I have friends who like, I feel like Zac Efron's more of that, like a metrosexual type, and I know people who are like, oh, I love Zac Efron and have the hugest crushes on him, but that's not my type, and that's not exactly what gets me going, if you catch my drift.
Yeah, I got you. No, totally. Yeah. Okay. I was gonna say too. First of all, the actor that they cast for this role, perfect, because I was even attracted to him. I was like,
he's cute.
What's wrong with you? He's cute. He was adorable. So he was like, good looking. Like,
he plays the son in The Birdcage, by the way. He's Robin Williams. And
that's why I recognize his. Yes, I just saw that in the last year. Great movie too, by the way.
Oh, it's so good.
Movie. So good. And also another movie that was like ahead of its time because that was like two gay fathers. Like that was not something that you saw. This was a 90s movie. That's not something that was like if that movie was made today, it'd just be another movie. But like that was groundbreaking shit. And
fun fact. That actor is also an Oscar-nominated screenwriter, rather. He wrote Capote. Right? Did he win for Capote? Oh. I forget, but
I think it did.
I think it did win. But yeah, he's very talented. And I've always been like, oh, he's. I whenever I watch The Birdcage, I'm like, oh, Val's so cute. I love Val.
It's a great movie. It's one of the best movies I've ever seen. I can't believe I hadn't seen it until a friend of mine showed it to me. I was like, how did I miss this?
You haven't seen The Birdcage till the last
I've seen it now, but I just see it was like probably like a year ago or 2 years ago.
Oh darn, that would have been a good movie for us to.
I'll totally watch it again. I don't give a shit. Sure. I'll pretend I haven't seen it.
Yeah, because I've watched it a bunch of times, and I think it's really fun, and I've always loved Robin Williams, of course, and Nathan Lane, and it's just so good.
Yeah, great actor. Yeah, he's fun to watch, in anything. So Now that leads us to, I guess we should, because I feel like we should cover Big and Carrie last since they kind of have more of the story again.
They have the closing scene or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, is there, yeah, I don't, this is the whole gay straight man, straight gay man thing. I think we're not dwelling on it so much because it's sort of just such an outmoded concept too now. I think
it kind of is, huh? Yeah.
You know, the way, if anything, like I see more women making fun of guys for being almost too traditionally masculine, where they're like, oh, I don't, bathe or clean, like I guess the 3-in-1 shampoo joke I've seen, or like, you don't even have a bed frame, I'm not coming home with you. Like, women are not putting up with this. Like, get your shit together, fella.
Yo, here's the thing. And that's the thing too, is because I think that, like, I used to think that I was like super masculine, but I think it turns out that I'm like probably more feminine than I am masculine. Like, I have different creams for like my face, for my hands, for my feet. I have a bed frame. I have a little trash can in my bathroom, which I thought everybody did. Apparently,
not I thought everybody did that, and apparently guys, a lot of straight dudes are not doing that. And I'm like, where do you look? I know you don't have the same type of garbage once a month like we do, but like, where are you throwing? You make other bathroom garbage. Where do you put it? What do you do with it?
That's what I was saying too. Like, when you told me that like guys don't do that, I was like, so is it just like
you just throw it on the floor? What the hell's wrong with you?
Like, what are you doing, bro?
You like, fucking animal?
Yeah, you're a human being. Put a fucking trash can in your bathroom. What's wrong with you? No, yes, I'm the kind of like I'll go get a fucking manicure. I just actually for my birthday, I went with a buddy of mine.
Oh yeah,
manicure and pedicure.
You're talking about that.
Yeah. Like I went
and you shared the photos on Instagram.
Yeah.
Fucking adorable. Like,
it was great.
Yeah,
it was great. My toes looked great. My fingers felt great. It was clean. I felt like
I actually really truly need one. I bite my nails too much though, so it doesn't.
Ooh.
I know, but I'm told if I go get one, then obviously the expense of having gotten it, I won't jam my fingernails in my mouth because
Well,
you just spent money on this, you idiot.
It's not that expensive. It's only like
right. Well, depending on where you go, yeah.
Pedicure, so it's not that.
And I don't plan on getting like acrylics.
If you go and get like coloring and like fake nails, that'll run you to about like $75-$80. Yeah. So that might make you not want to do it.
But maybe I need some acrylics to get my shit in gear and stop biting my freaking nails.
Yeah. Maybe invest in that. Yeah. Okay, so that brings us to Samantha. So she basically runs into a guy that essentially at some point in her past broke her heart, and she has gathered it up in her brain that she's going to get revenge on him for breaking her heart, which is hilarious because like Samantha is such a savage, and and the idea of her actually being heartbroken, like. Because actually, Carrie.
Even Charlotte's baffled by it.
She's like, can you imagine a heartbroken Samantha? I was like, I can't. I couldn't. I was like trying to do it in my head while I was watching. I was like, what would she look like? Like sad, depressed, over a guy. Like I could see her being more heartbroken over like a pair of shoes before a guy. Low key, And I'm not saying like she's like vapid or nothing like that, but I could just see that affected her more. Then
we saw her upset. She got stood up that one night several episodes ago. I think in the season or maybe the first season, but I think it's not so much the guy; it's just the disrespect of being stood up. It's not only. I think if she were say gay and a woman stood her up, it would be the same reaction. Of course, it's just the idea that someone blew you off that hard. And left you hanging, and she didn't get hung up on that guy. This sounds like this was more of an intense relationship, and like, perhaps her villain origin story. Haha, not that she's a villain, but the explanation of maybe why she approaches, dating and sex the way she does, but maybe not. It didn't really make it seem like he was what broke her and made her, and I shouldn't say broke either because what she's doing is not a broken
right thing. Exactly. Yeah, she's being a fucking empowered woman. That's what the fuck she's doing. And I fuck with that.
I think she's always been confident and in control.
Yeah, I don't think that there was any guy that like sparked that whole her behavior and how she navigates through life. I think she's always just being that kind of person.
If anything, this seems like the guy that maybe she turned off her spark to be with.
Yes, that's what I was gathering from him. I think that she like probably like really got into him, although
stopped being herself and
but I think she kind of set herself up for failure, because like the guy was married while they were seeing each other, right? If I'm correct.
Well, they were originally dating.
From
I got the implication that they were both single. When they got together, and then they were in this relationship, and then he coldly dumped her to get married to his like.
Okay, I see. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, and not surprised, because that doesn't seem like something that would happen to Samantha. And so she basically sees this guy again. She's like, you know what? I'm gonna get my revenge. I'm gonna make him want me. And the second that he thinks he's about to get some, I'm gonna get out of there. I'm gonna, eject and be gone. Which turns out she didn't have the power to do that.
Yeah.
She ends up sleeping with the guy, and then he breaks her heart again. He's like, "Oh, me and my ex-wife are gonna give it another
together." And I like how mad she is.
Oh my god! Well, here's the thing. Well, because
rightfully so.
Rightly so. Like, here's the thing. Yes, she was going to do that to him, which wasn't right on her part. But obviously, she changed her mind. Was like, "Fuck it. Let's just see where it goes." And she was like, gonna, he kind of had the key to her heart, I guess, still from the past. And just the way that he did it, he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna miss you." She's like, "What do you mean miss me?" And he's like, "Oh, my wife are getting back together." And he just said it so casually, like it didn't mean anything. Like, I was like, dude, like, that's just disgusting, almost low key. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you wait, because like clearly, I mean, they were laying naked in bed, so clearly he knew in the back of his mind that him and his wife were trying to again have sex with her anyway, and then broke it to her while they were still naked.
Yeah, he's a piece of shit.
You're a piece of shit, bro.
Yeah.
You know what Samantha should have did? She should have called his wife, like, "Hey, he just fucked me. So while you guys get back together, just know that that's inside me. Yeah, he ain't changed a bit, bitch."
But I like that it's because, as they often sort of treat Samantha like she is sort of stone cold in a way and doesn't get attached, but she's not a sociopath. She's not crazy.
No.
She has this sort of very soft little center that she doesn't show very often. And when it gets hurt, it gets very, very hurt because she doesn't expose it. And so I liked that, the sort of moral of her storyline was that she ultimately couldn't go through with the revenge because she is sort of still a good person and too kind to ultimately do that, and cares about him, even though she shouldn't. Which sucks.
No,
that hurt. That hurts and that sucks.
Yeah, he does not deserve it at all.
But you know what? I will say, if she hadn't tried to have sex with him, she was gonna win the game, so to speak, because living well is the best revenge she's got. She looked hot in the dress at the dinner. She's got a great career and the money and the whole nine. And like that's how you quote unquote win a breakup, or go back with your ex like Jennifer Lopez did with Ben Affleck, which is my favorite.
I'm happy about that, by the way.
Everybody is. I've never seen a nation so pumped for a random celebrity couple. But I don't know what it is.
I saw a picture on Instagram of them kissing. I was like, yeah.
They are kissing.
Yes.
It's not just... My favorite is, and I pitched this for work and I was so excited it became our lead, is the photo they caught of him leaving her house smirking. Where he's like,
"That's awesome."
Like, I just you totally had sex.
I
love. Yeah.
And how many years ago did they date?
2003. They haven't been together since 2003.
That's 18 years and they're back together. Can you? I mean, talk about a love story and a hopeful love story.
Yeah.
Like for anybody who's like still thinking about their ex, it might be the worst thing to happen, because if there's some people who still think about an ex, it was like totally not worth their time, totally not worth them being with. They're like, maybe in a few years we'll get back together. Like, it might make some people hopeful where they should be hopeful. So it could be a good and bad thing. But I'm going with the good side.
I'm going with the positive.
I'm going with the positive.
I can't wait.
If there's any exes listening, I'm not saying I want any of you back. I'm just saying that it's a positive thing for other people. I don't want no confusion.
I did see the guy I've often talked about at a thing a couple weeks ago.
Is that right?
I made the power move. I saw him first, and I was like, I'm not fucking walking up to him. He's gonna walk up to me, and he did.
That's what's up. I respect that. Virtual fist bump.
Virtual fist bump. No, he has a girlfriend though. It wasn't like he was gonna try to get
it don't matter.
That we know of.
Yes, I'm just saying, but you still did that. You still did the Samantha move, and I like the Samantha.
Also, when we left at the parted ways at the end of the evening, because we caught up for like 10-15 minutes, and then he went back to what he was doing with his group. But we did part ways, and I got a longer hug and a back scratch, one of these on the old backaroonie. You can't see my hand gesture if you're listening to the podcast, but it's a back scratching gesture.
If you're listening,
what is that all about?
It's a move. It's a move.
But I also
it was showing a little something.
I'm just saying I looked cute that day. Had a nice little. No, I wasn't even super dressed up. I just looked cute. Homeboys in cargo shorts. Just saying. Don't be fooled by the rocks that I got. I'm still.
Oh shit! Oh, so that with that we will segue. That's not even a good segue, but fuck it, we're just gonna go. Yep. We gotta go to Big and Caring.
Oh, by the way, I did tell him about this podcast. I do not think he will be listening though, so I think we're okay.
You know what though? I hope he listens to. If there's any episode he listens to, I hope he listens to this one, just for this last 5 minutes that we just had. That's all I care about. If you just get a random like text message like, oh, so yeah, that's.
Don't be talking shit about me on your podcast.
He's like, was it me you're talking about? No, bitch. Who else fucking hugged me and fucking scraped my back? Yeah. You think I got exes all over doing that, motherfucker?
Yeah. What if I do?
What if I do? Yeah, could be. So I don't really know how to explain Carrie and Big's situation because I don't really know.
So they are very much a couple, as we've established, but they aren't living together. But she wants to leave things at his apartment to make her life a little easier. Like she sleeps over there a ton, so she wants some beauty stuff, grooming stuff, clothes even. So that she doesn't have to constantly do a walk of shame, basically.
Okay.
But it was not shameful because they're in a relationship. But you look rumpled the next day, and maybe you don't want that when you're going home.
Okay, I get that. Mm-hmm. I hear where you're coming from, but in regards to Carrie, I don't feel like that was the point. I feel like it was more.
You're right.
I gotta mark my territory. I gotta establish myself in his life. Like I don't feel like I'm established enough in his life, even though. He's like doing these steps and making it, but it seems like she still needs a little, like every episode, she just needs a little bit more than what he's giving. And she like kind of forced, it seems like she, again, boundaries, she like forced it on him.
Yes.
Instead of leaving like one little pair of panties or like a toothbrush, she left like several items there.
Oh yeah. She like took, she opened like his medicine cabinet and like snatched like the first hairdryer, and then they open it again, and it is like fucking full of stuff. Cool. And like he's a guy who does groom, but not a ton. He's probably the bare bones, and so he's like all confused. But I agree, she pushed it, but then she did grow in this episode because she communicated finally.
She did. She still ain't getting no points because I don't fuck with her because of the last episode.
Because I know she's dead to you.
She's dead to me. But I did actually wrote that down. She did. I gave her bonus.
Because Big comes back with like her like a bag, and she's like, "Oh, did you give me a gift?" And he's like, "No, it's all your shit."
No, that was the most. First of all, I don't care. It might have been a dick move, but you gotta admit that was savage as fuck because like.
That's like the meme of dropping
in a Barney's bag as if he was giving her a gift. That was hilarious. She was like her face was so defeated when
she was like, "Oh,
that you left at my house." The fuck.
Like if the meme of like the sunglasses like dropping onto his face could have been in the show, would have been perfect. But then so she's mad, and rather than be like, like escalate in like a super childish way and be like, well, not only am I gonna bring all this back, I'm bringing like my whole fucking closet, fuck you. She
totally would have done it like season 1 for sure.
Which she totally would have done before. You know, then she says, hey, I meant to leave those things because of the, you know, technical reasons. Yes, I need to like groom and whatnot. And kind of they're starting to dance around the like, I don't feel like I'm part of your thing. And this is where he is a little douchey to her, and he's like, well, I don't care, I don't need that, don't want that. And sort of dismissive of the fact that she does and not willing to find like a compromise. And then I love this is so of the time. So they mentioned Woody and Mia, which is Woody Allen and Mia Farrow. Now they they famously, yes, were a couple, but lived on opposite sides of Central Park and could wave to each other. That's a very real thing they did. That's not made up. And then of course, you know, the whole Soon-Hee and just his general existence as a fucking creep.
I wrote that down. I was like, I don't know if anybody should be modeling their relationship after Woody Allen. He's probably kind of to mentor, like not, you know, mimic it all.
But he doesn't feel the need to be on top of each other all the time. He likes that space.
I get that though. I
get that. And in fact, I've, you know, it's something that people are like, oh, it's a bad thing, but you know, sometimes there are couples that don't even share beds. It's not because they don't love each other. It's so that everybody can get a good night's sleep. Because sometimes guys snore, or women snore, but it tends to be guys. Or, you know, people have, you know, weird work shifts, or I've read about people who are like the lightest sleepers. So if you even like roll over them, they're awake the whole rest of the night, and there's nothing to be done. So you know, doing things like that in your best interest is not necessarily a bad thing, but there's also he's not compromising on anything. Like, being willing to let her leave some shit behind.
Yeah. Well, but I understand that because, you know, I think he was wrong for like just completely dismissing her.
And the snide little "why don't you tell me what I want" moment.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, because like here's the thing too, because like he didn't even appreciate the fact that she came to him like in a mature adult way. It was like, look, I left that on purpose because of A, B, and C. Like, you know, instead of like yelling at him or punching him in the face like she did 2 episodes ago. You know what I mean? Like, you didn't even give her points for that.
Remember, this broad took a slug at you, pal. You might want to rethink your approach.
Again, too, like the fact that he's even there and taking that risk that she could have easily just like came in the room and just kicked him in the face.
With that hairdryer right on
with the hairdryer, you know? So, yeah, I do disagree with that. I understand where he's coming from, like, because they are still, I mean, yes, they have been together for the better part of a year and back together and stuff like that. But like, you know, I'm also one of those people that's like, I don't think if we've been together for a year that we need to be moving in together immediately. Like, it could be like, I think maybe like 2 or 3 years in, that's probably where you want to move in and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I also think that he was being a little bit childish when like she wanted to leave some things. It's like, dude, you've been dating for a year. She stays at your place. Like, you can give her a little bit of space. It's not going to change anything. And honestly, I low-key didn't like the fact that she kind of conceded to him when she saw that picture in his drawer.
Yeah, you know? I can't believe that that's the thing that made her go, oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Because, like, it was funny. I made the note. She was flipping out about leaving all the stuff. I was like, well, he gave you a toothbrush head for the electric toothbrush. And they do show her using it, which I thought was like a decent continuity thing. Because I was starting to be like, oh, are they going to blow off? Because that was such a big thing in the one episode. But it is there real briefly. But yeah, because I can't believe that the photo is what does it to her. Because the photo is located, stuffed in like an upper drawer in the bathroom under a towel.
Right.
Like, how is that being like, it would be, I think it would
like if it was like in the mirror or something like that, or in a frame or
something. Like tucked in the mirror, tucked in the medicine cabinet, so then he opens it anytime, you know, he sees the photo of them together. Like, that would have been more heartwarming. The fact that it's like, I keep this with my clean towels and my backup toothpaste. Like, what?
Right,
But I guess she's acknowledging him in that sense, because that's about as far as
that is his thing.
That's his as much as he can give, and she finally acknowledges that.
that's the only thing that kind of like
Yeah.
didn't make me like really like be upset about the fact that she conceded, was because that was honestly a piece of her understanding who he is. Like
Yeah.
finally understanding like it takes time for him. Like let him move at the pace. He is, because here's the thing. At the end of the day, he might be moving slowly, but he is moving forward when it comes to their relationship.
She even said the last line.
I don't think they've taken any steps back. He hasn't taken any steps back since they've gotten back together.
True. She even says the last line of the episode is, it may be a small step for mankind, but it's a big step for big, which is very true. Yeah. And the fact that she actually acknowledges that is a big move for her too.
She got points from me. I give her points for that. I will give her points for that.
Yeah, she's still dead to me though.
Still dead to me though. Just because of that last line from the last episode. She's never getting back from that.
Anything before I love you doesn't count, right? Not in this court of law, bitch.
Not in this court, bitch. Not in this world. Not in reality, motherfucker. So let me ask you this. Since we're talking about this situation, because the girls were talking about like finding, items from guys' apartments. Is that a big issue? Is that a red flag for? Because I'm gonna tell you like this. Honestly, depending on the item, like if it was like a picture of an ex still around, like in a frame or something like that, and it's not like an ex that like died or something like that, then I can understand. But like honestly, like. Okay, I'm going to point out some things that I think were just gross. The fact that I think it was...
Samantha says she leaves all her undies.
She leaves all her undies because she don't fuck around.
And then she stopped wearing underwear.
Like, yeah, super savage. But when I think it was Charlotte that said she found a pair of underwear in the guy's bed.
Oh, in the guy's bed, yeah.
Here's the thing. It ain't even about the panties. That's just gross. That means that nigga ain't washing his sheets.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That means he ain't doing shit right. Really.
He had sex in those sheets and then still sleeping on them.
Yeah, and you're sleeping in them. That's nasty. I would be upset about that alone.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even care that there's panties in there. Like, okay, like, because if I'm willing to sleep with you, then obviously I ain't worried about that. But the fact that your shit is dirty and you ain't wash your sheets and I'm finding panties, that means you ain't washing your shit. But I do, are there certain items that would make you run the opposite direction if you found like in a guy's apartment, like feminine items?
I don't know. I like that one. Yeah, obviously, like we said, it's gross. I think if it, not necessarily. I think I just would want to hear the explanation, because I like, when you say feminine items, do you mean like beauty or hair things, or
like I say like a makeup kit or something, or
I'd be a little not necessarily running for the door, but a little like, hey, why, like, oh, did somebody leave this behind? And then I'd want to gauge the answer of how recently did somebody leave the item behind. But yeah, because I mean, people forget things places. I still have I didn't actually date him, but I sure was trying. But a guy, I have two things guys loaned me. Again, we weren't dating, so I don't know why I got this loan exactly. But then I lost contact, and I, in good faith, for years tried to return a couple. I have a Stephen King paperback that's like the super well worn, and so I was like, oh, this is like a very loved book. It's all battered up. Surely he'll want this back, but apparently not. Because I messaged like for at least a year or two after we kind of lost touch in person. I was like, hey, like, happy birthday, by the way, I still have this book if you want it back. And then sort of similarly, someone loaned me the first season of Supernatural on DVD, and I never watched it, but I had it for years and years and years, and they never asked for it back, and I finally donated it in one of the last like purchases, because like clearly he didn't give a shit at a certain point,
right?
But he didn't want it back, so it's fine. I don't have like a ton of man items cluttering up my space.
I don't think. To me, I think it's a red flag if there's over like 4 to 5 items. If there's like 4 or 5 items that you didn't leave as a woman that is at my place.
And items that would actively be routinely used, like a hairbrush, makeup, underwear, if it's like if it's something like the book or DVD, Yeah, it's not,
Right.
people leave shit places all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
But yeah, any sort of like
if it's like clothing items,
yeah,
personal like clothing items like makeup or like hair dryer,
items that go on your body.
Yeah.
If those are left behind, that's a big red flag. If it's like other things, or if it's like maybe she decorated more and like it's not his design aesthetic, I wouldn't again wouldn't run for the hills, but I would be like, why didn't she ever change it back if you broke up or change it?
Because like I was, because like here's my thing is like
sometimes dudes are lazy, so I don't know.
No, because I've had exes that like, like I didn't say anything, but it did make me feel a certain type of way. Like honestly, the biggest thing to me, is like, as a guy, and maybe it's not even a guy, maybe it's just me personally, but like, if I know, because I've asked girls sometimes who like hoodies, I'm like, oh, where'd you get that? And they're like, oh, it's my brother's.
Is it?
That's not your brother's. That's your ex's. And to like, I don't like that, because it's like, why you still got your ex's hoodie? Like, even if it's a good hoodie, donate that shit. That shit needs to be gone, because you know that shit, every time you wear it, reminds you of that person, no matter how many times. Even if you're not in love with that person, or you say you're not in love with it, it's still a reminder. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, if you got like a pet, like a puppy from somebody, I'm not saying get rid of the puppy, but like hoodies, t-shirts, or hats, or something like that you got from ex, those shouldn't be in your closet. To me, that's mad disrespectful if you still got clothing items from your ex like that, like big items like that in your apartment. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care how comfortable the hoodie is. Bitch, go buy that version and throw that one away, motherfucker. Like, stop it. Not cool.
But it's not worn in the same way.
Nah, fuck that.
It from a person.
Fuck that. Because here's the thing, and because I understand there's a science behind it, because there's a reason why women keep men's hoodies, because our aroma is on them. There's essentially a smell of us on, even after you wash it, we can still smell the pheromones and stuff like that from it. So the fact that you're keeping it is, to me, a sign of lingering, and I can't fuck with that. I can't fuck with it.
That's fair.
Yeah. And that's why I wouldn't keep any panties. Like, if I found panties of an ex, they'd be in the trash. Like, charging the game, I'm not gonna give it back. Like, it's gone. So I think there are certain items that, like, some of the ones that they were tripping on, like a scrunchie, like Miranda was talking about.
Yeah. Do you know how many hair ties or ponytail holders or whatever you want to call them get lost in the ether, where you even had it in your hand, let's say, and you turn around for 2 seconds and suddenly it's gone?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, there's certain items, but I feel like it's like a hoodie is something a little bit more impactful than like a scrunchie.
Where was I? I was just thinking, I think it's at work or just places I've lived where, like, when I was cleaning out my old apartment before I moved, I found all the cat toys and then like a shit ton of hair ties because they just sort of have a way of sort of poof, whatnot. And so there's definitely a trail from where, like, even my home in Michigan, I'm sure if they like took it down to the studs, you'd find all of my ponytail holders, dorms, offices, cars. But the last car I had, if they again like stripped it away and moved enough seats, you'd find like every ponytail holder I'd owned from like 2008 to 2016 or something. Yeah, and I want them back, because sometimes they get stretched out just right and hold your hair just perfect. And then when that one goes, I can't talk about it. It's heartbreaking.
So, okay, let me ask you this before we wrap it up. What's your, like, you say, I know you say anything on your face, but is there like for me specifically, hoodies or t-shirts, like a combination, whatever for me, it's like, that's a big red flag for me. What's a big red flag for you if you found it in a current person you're dating's apartment that you like, for sure is from an ex, even if they lie about it?
Yeah, let's see. Aside from like a personal grooming stuff, I think kind of similarly, if he had a lot of like shirts, let's say she bought him, I would be a little on edge with that, because there's still a lingering control she has over him in a sense, because she's
No, that's fair.
dictate,
That's
and it
totally fair.
feels so psycho to say that, but it's kind of true, because it just sort of means he's not paying attention, I think, to
Yeah.
anything that happens to him in general, which is bad.
Right.
That's bad on its own, but then
Okay.
also sort of thinking, even if it's not necessarily he thinks of her every time he puts on that shirt.
No, he does.
He might,
He does.
yeah, and
Yeah.
that's kind of, you know.
Yeah, because here's the thing: if it's a shirt that a guy, if somebody say if a woman buys a shirt for a guy that he actually likes and like wears, it's a big thing. Like, and here's the thing: even if he doesn't, even like I said, I think it goes one way, because like even if you don't want to think about that person, low key you're going to when you put it on, even time you even see it.
Because
like,
inevitably someone's going to say, "That's a really nice shirt. Where'd you get that?" And then they have to say, if they don't think fast enough, say, "Oh, my ex bought it for me." Or my ex picked it out, and then you're like,
yeah.
It's like,
yep.
And now they're in the room, even though they're not in the room, you know.
Right, 100%. I totally agree, 100. Cool. All right.
So, gents, if she buys you shirts, you gotta throw them all away. I don't care how nice.
Throw them all away. Sorry, bro. Listen, I know that shirt is probably fire, and you probably loved it, but like,
she probably told you it brought your eyes out and blah blah blah.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, to me, you already got the memories up here. You don't need to have them in a physical form. So you remember the ex, like no matter what. If you guys dated and had a significant enough relationship, you got all the memories. You don't need the items. Get rid of them.
Yep.
And that means I gotta go clean out my closet right now. I got a couple shirts I probably need to get rid of, but they're so good. I don't want to get rid of them, but you know what? I probably have to. I gotta charge it to the game. What I might do is go buy, like, hopefully, see if I can go find it online and like buy it myself.
Yeah, buy
it. Get rid of the one that she got me.
And then it can be, oh, where'd you get that shirt? And be like, oh, I got it on eBay.
Oh, I got it.
Cool.
Exactly. I might go do that, because there's a couple of shirts that I have from an ex. I'm like, I probably should get rid of them, but it's such a good, like, it makes you look so good. Like, but you're right though. But you're right. Yeah, I gotta get rid of them. They gotta go.
But you don't have to go, kind listener and or viewer. Chris, where can they find you and your collection of ill-gotten shirts?
You can find me on Twitter or Instagram at Mack Diddy Combs, MackDiddyCombs, and you, my friend.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Elizabeth Movies.
Yes. And you can find our podcast at Show Me What Podcast on Instagram. And our link tree is in there. You can find all of our shit from Instagram to Twitter to
Facebook,
where you can listen to the podcast, YouTube, Facebook,
all the spaces.
All up in there. And be sure to stop by Arlo Australia on Instagram, ARLO_Australia on Instagram, and get yourself some candles. Use our promo code ShowMeMiss, all caps, and they'll get you 10% off of all your purchases. She has great candles, and she also has reed diffusers. So if you're not, comfortable with lighting a candle in your room or whatever,
totally understandable. Reed diffusers are a great option.
Reed diffuser, boom. Anybody, you can't fuck it up. You can't burn your house down with reed diffuser unless you're just really trying to burn your house.
Unless you light it yourself.
Yeah, if you like,
do not do that.
Don't do that. But all her candles are ethically sourced, so they all of her, the wax and everything and the wicks come from Australia, and it's lead-free wicks, so you're not like, contaminating the air when you burn them, and they burn really slow and they smell fucking awesome. It's so good. I'm telling you guys, don't miss out. I'm gonna show you right now.
Oh yeah, I don't have my candle handy.
I got the 25.
Oh, you got the big one.
I got the big one, and I've been lighting it at least once or twice.
Oh yeah.
It's still I burn it for like two hours, give or take, at a time. No more than 2 hours. Don't burn it longer than that because it'll fuck up your wicks. But
I did not know that.
Yeah, I burn it, and it's great, man. It keeps the house, like, I burn it for like an hour or two, and the smell lingers for like 2 days. So
nice.
If you want to keep your room nice and fresh, burn it for 2 hours, and you good for 2 days. So and it'll last you forever. Like, I've had this one for almost 3 months. So, boom. That's it.
And with that, so yes, next week tune in for our special movie episode, and then we are going on a little break after that for a couple weeks.
Yes.
We're all getting back to work, which is cool, but also means
Yes.
we're super busy.
Yes, we are busy. LA is opening up again, but listen, guys, we're not going to abandon you. We're going to be
Nope.
here. We're going to come back. We're going to be doing more podcasts. So, for those who've been listening since day one, we will not leave you straight. All right, we'll be back.
We'll never let go, Jack. We'll never let go.
Never let go. Also, we'll let you on. We'll also let you on the door because there's enough room for both of us to be on the door.
No, there wasn't. Yes, fine. Yes, physically, but it is a matter of buoyancy and material buoyancy. And also, frankly, narratively, it just had to happen. You have to let it go.
Listen,
the narrative doesn't work if he lives.
That's true. You can't make teenage girls cry if he lives.
Come on.
James Cameron, you monster.
I don't care that the Mythbusters tested it out. I don't care.
I know. It's all good.
Listen,
the story is much better that he died because let's be honest. If he'd have made it to the shore, old dude probably would have had him fucking put in jail. Let's be honest.
Yeah. And it's the same thing where people are like, oh, why didn't they just have the Eagles fly them to Mordor and Lord of the Rings to destroy the ring? Well, then you wouldn't have a fucking story, would you? Idiot.
That movie would be 5 minutes. Getting on it, like flying, maybe a little conversation while they're flying, then getting the Mordor back. All right.
Quit being so literal, people. Like, there's a reason that stories are told the way they're told.
Exactly.
Fucking nerd. Anyway.
All right. Peace out, guys.
Peace out.